This is Director Su Min of Novus Harmony. Our situation is critical. The eastern sector fell yesterday. We have lost contact with the northern bunkers. Please respond. The screen flickered, showing only static at first. Then a face appeared. An older man in a clean white uniform sitting in a bright room. Director, this is General Park at Confederation Command. We hear your distress call. Su leaned forward. Then send help. We have thousands of civilians with nowhere to go. The Void forces are digging into the ground. They'll reach us soon. The duel. General's face showed no emotion. I regret to inform you that diplomatic channels are still open. We are unable to authorize military intervention without full council approval. Diplomatic channels? Su's voice rose. The Void Collective has destroyed 3 colonies. They don't talk, they consume. What are you waiting for? The council believes war should be the last option. We must... Su slammed her fist on the console. The screen jumped, then returned to the general's face. People are dying while you talk, my people. I understand your frustration, Director, but no, you don't. You sit safe on Earth making speeches while we die. Su cut the connection with another hit to the console. Jin Tai, her security chief, approached carefully. His face was dirty, and his arm was in a makeshift sling. Any help coming? Just more words, Su said. She looked around the bunker at the tired, scared faces of her people. They won't send ships. The council is still debating. Jin sighed. We have maybe 3 days before the Void breaks through. Food for 5 days at most. Su walked to a small metal cabinet on the wall. Inside was an old device covered in dust. Most people thought it was just for show, a reminder of the old days before the Great Peace. What are you doing? Jin asked. Something I should have done weeks ago. Su took out the device and placed her hand on its surface. It lit up, scanning. Her fingerprints. When they built this colony, they included one last emergency system. The old military hid these beacons on every major colony. Those beacons don't work anymore, Jin said. The networks they used are long gone. Su entered a code into the device. That's what they want us to believe. The truth is they kept one receiver active, just in case. In case of what? In case we ever faced something we couldn't handle, something that threatened all humans. The device beeped and began to pulse with red light. I'm sending an SOS that will wake up the past. Jin looked worried. The council will be angry. Let them be angry at me after my people are safe. Su set the beacon on the console, where it continued to pulse. For the next 6 hours, nothing changed. The bunker grew hotter as the environmental system struggled. More reports came in of Void forces breaking through in new areas. People began to lose hope. Then a young technician called out from the sensor station, "Director, something's coming!" Su rushed over. The screen showed space around their planet, where the Void ships formed a blockade. But something new had appeared. A single ship moving fast toward them. "Is it Confederation?" she asked. The technician shook his head. "No known signature. It's not in our database, and it's not Void design either." Others gathered around as the unknown ship approached the planet. It was sleek and black, moving with a speed and grace that seemed impossible. The Void ships turned to attack it, but the newcomer slipped between their fire, avoiding every shot. "It's fighting back," Jin whispered in awe. On the screen they watched as the black ship fired precise beams that cut through Void vessels. Not wild attacks, but careful surgical strikes that disabled rather than destroyed. "Check if it's sending any signals," Su ordered. The communications officer worked quickly. "Yes, it's broadcasting on an old military channel." He put it on the main speaker. A deep, clear voice filled the bunker. "Novus Harmony, this is Commander Han Ji-won of the TCS Nemesis responding to emergency protocol. I am engaging hostile forces and will establish a safe corridor for evacuation. Stand by for instructions." The room went silent. Even the children stopped crying. "The Nemesis," Jin said finally. "That's impossible." Su stared at the screen where the black ship continued to dance between enemy vessels. The Nemesis was the flagship of the last war, the most advanced warship ever built. It disappeared with its commander 200 years ago. "It's a myth," someone said, "a story they tell children." "Look at the screen," Su replied. "That's no myth." They watched as the ship's transponder code appeared on their systems. TCS N7. The Nemesis. The beacon worked, Sue said quietly. It actually worked. A new hope spread through the bunker as people watched the black ship fight. It moved like nothing they had ever seen, as if it could predict where enemy fire would go before it happened. If that really is the Nemesis, Jin said, then who is Commander Han? Sue's eyes didn't leave the screen. Someone the Confederation wanted us to forget. A relic from when humans knew how to fight. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. And right now, that's exactly what we need. The inside of the Nemesis was dark and quiet. Blue lights glowed softly from the control panels where Commander Han Ji-won sat alone. His fingers moved quickly over the screens as he studied the enemy ships around Novus Harmony. The Nemesis was old by today's standards, but Han knew every part of it like his own body. "Show me Confederation battle reports," he said. The ship's computer area displayed videos of recent fights between human ships and the Void Collective. Han watched with a frown as the human ships moved in straight, predictable patterns. They fired their weapons from far away, never getting close to the enemy. "The Confederation military has grown soft," he muttered. "Too much reliance on automated systems, not enough tactical thinking." During the 12 hours since he woke from his long sleep, Han had studied everything that happened while he was frozen. The Confederation had enjoyed peace for nearly 2 centuries. They built beautiful cities. They explored space. But they forgot how to fight. "Arya, show me what we know about the Void Collective." Images appeared on the screen, strange ships that looked partly alive, with dark tendrils and glowing parts that seemed to pulse like hearts. Data scrolled beside the images. "The Void Collective first appeared 6 months ago," Arya reported. "They do not communicate in any known language. They attack human colonies without warning. They appear to absorb all technology and biological material they encounter." Han nodded slowly. "They're not interested in talking. They want to consume, and the Confederation keeps trying to make friends." He studied the map of destroyed colonies. The pattern was clear. The Void was working its way methodically toward the most populated human worlds. "Prepare for hyperspace exit," Han ordered. "Weapons at full readiness." The Nemesis hummed as it prepared to drop back into normal space. Han felt the familiar tightness in his chest that came before battle. His body was made for this. His heart could pump twice as fast as a normal human's. His brain could process information at incredible speeds. His reflexes were beyond what nature intended. The ship shuddered slightly as it left hyperspace at the edge of the Novus system. The main screen showed the planet Novus Harmony in the distance, surrounded by dark void ships. 6 enemy vessels breaking formation, Arya announced. "They are moving to intercept." Han watched calmly as the enemy ships approached. They moved with unusual grace for their size, flowing rather than flying. The sky above Novus Harmony glowed orange with fire. Black smoke rose from buildings that had stood proud just days ago. The Void Collective ships hung in the air like dark clouds, shooting beams of energy that cut through steel and stone. What had been a beautiful human colony for 30 years was now mostly rubble. Deep underground, 500 people huddled in the main emergency bunker. The air smelled of sweat and fear. Children cried while adults spoke in whispers. They had been there for 22 days. Director Su Min hadn't slept in nearly 48 hours. Her dark hair was tied back messily, and her uniform had stains from the coffee she used to stay awake. She stood at the main communication panel, trying, again, to reach Earth. "Target analysis complete," Arya reported. "Detecting biological mechanical hybrid construction. Significant energy emissions consistent with plasma weaponry." The data confirmed what Han suspected. These weren't just machines. They were alive. Somehow, or at least partly alive. "Show me their attack patterns from previous engagements." Arya displayed footage of void ships attacking a Confederation patrol. Their movement seemed random at first, but Han's enhanced mind saw the pattern. These weren't individual ships. They were parts of a larger organism, moving with shared purpose. "They think as one," he said quietly. "That's their strength and their weakness." Han's fingers moved across the controls, programming a series of maneuvers. Where other captains might see only 6 powerful enemy ships, Han saw gaps in their formation, blind spots in their sensors, delays in their reactions. "Deploy countermeasures." Prepare main cannons. The Nemesis released a cloud of small metal objects that began broadcasting conflicting signals. At the same time, compartments opened along the ship's hull, revealing weapons that had not been used in 2 centuries. Setting course, Han said. Maximum thrust. The Nemesis surged forward with surprising speed for a ship its size. On most vessels, such acceleration would crush the crew against their seats, but Han's modified body could handle forces that would kill normal humans, and he was the only one aboard. The 6 void ships fired plasma beams that lit up space with green light, but the Nemesis was no longer where they aimed. Han had the ship spinning and diving in a pattern no computer would choose. It looked like madness, but it was calculated to the millimeter. First target locked, Arya announced. Fire. The Nemesis released a concentrated beam of energy that cut through the first void ship's defenses. The enemy vessel shuddered, and dark fluid leaked into space. They're adapting, Han noted, watching as the remaining ships changed formation. They learn quickly. The void ships began firing in a new pattern, trying to predict where the Nemesis would go. But Han was already changing tactics. He pushed the ship into a tight spiral that brought it dangerously close to the second void vessel. Close-range weapons ready, Arya said. Fire all. Dozens of small projectiles shot from the Nemesis, embedding themselves in the void ship's hull. They detonated simultaneously, causing the enemy vessel to convulse and go dark. The remaining 4 ships pulled back, seemingly confused by tactics they had never encountered. They're used to fighting predictable enemies, Han said. Show me the colony's status. A small window opened on his screen showing the surface of Nova's Harmony. Large parts of the main city were destroyed. Dark patches spread across the land where void ground forces moved. Colony defenses at 12% capacity, Arya reported. Main bunker holding approximately 500 survivors. Secondary bunkers status unknown. Han nodded grimly. Open a channel to the colony. Channel open. Nova's Harmony, this is Commander Han Ji-won of the Nemesis, he said clearly. I am engaging the enemy fleet. Prepare your people for evacuation. A woman's voice responded, tight with stress but controlled. Commander, this is Director Su Min. We've been watching your arrival. Our evacuation ships were destroyed weeks ago. I'll create a safe landing zone and come to you, Han replied. Hold your position. As he spoke, the 4 remaining void ships regrouped and began moving toward the Nemesis again. They had changed their pattern completely now, adapting to Han's tactics. Han smiled slightly. They were learning, but so was Arya. Analyze their new formation weakness. Analysis complete, suggesting attack vector 47 Alpha. Han shook his head. No, they're expecting that. Set course directly toward their center. Warning, collision course detected. Yes, Han said. That's exactly what they won't expect. The Nemesis accelerated straight toward the tight formation of void ships. To any observer, it would look like suicide. The enemy vessels held their position, preparing to fire simultaneously when the Nemesis came into range. Han's hands moved across the controls, his enhanced mind calculating the precise moment to act. Now, the Nemesis fired all engines in a pattern that sent it spinning through the tiny gap between 2 void ships. As it passed, it released a pulse of energy that disrupted the connection between the vessels. Suddenly unable to coordinate, the void ships fired into empty space, and in 2 cases into each other. They think as one, Han repeated as he watched the enemy ships struggle to regroup. Break that, and they fall apart. The main screen in the bunker showed the space battle above Nova's Harmony. Director Su Min couldn't look away. The Nemesis moved like nothing she had ever seen before. Where Confederation ships were slow and careful, this black warship darted between enemy vessels with impossible speed. It spun and twisted in ways that should have broken it apart. How is it doing that? She whispered. Jin-tae, her security chief, pointed to a data stream on a smaller screen. Look at these readings. It's attacking their command nodes, the parts that let them talk to each other, and here, it's using their own communication frequency against them. On the screen, 2 large void ships suddenly turned and fired at each other. Their hive-mind connection was confused by signals from the Nemesis. The aliens couldn't tell friend from enemy anymore. I've never seen anyone fight like this, Jin said. His voice was filled with wonder. The Confederation gave up these tactics long ago. They said war was too messy, too unpredictable. And now, we're losing because of it, Sue said quietly. The room fell silent as they watched the Nemesis slip past the damaged Void ships. Instead of retreating to safety, it drove deeper into the enemy fleet, heading straight for their larger vessels. It's targeting their supply ships, Jin realized. Cut off their resources and the ground forces will be stranded. The emergency radio crackled to life. A deep voice filled the bunker. This is Commander Han Ji-won of the TCS Nemesis to Novus. Harmony, prepare your defense forces for coordinated counterattack. Sue grabbed the microphone. Commander, this is Director Su Min. We have no defense forces left, just civilian security with basic weapons. There was a pause, and Sue thought the connection might have been lost. Then Han's voice returned. Then we adapt. I need your people. To create a diversion on the ground. Can you manage that? Sue looked at Jin. His arm was still in its sling, but his eyes were bright with hope for the first time in weeks. He nodded. Yes, Commander, we'll be ready. I'm sending plans to your system now. Study them carefully. We move in 3 hours. The transmission ended, and new files appeared on their computer. Jin opened them and stared in surprise. These are military attack patterns, he said, but simplified for civilians. He's turned basic household items into weapons. Sue studied the plans. They were clear and direct, with simple drawings showing how to use common tools in ways she never imagined. Garden equipment became traps. Kitchen supplies became explosives. Even children's toys had a purpose in Han's strategy. Gather everyone who can move, she ordered. We have work to do. For the next 3 hours, the bunker was alive with activity. People who had huddled in fear for weeks were now working with purpose. An old chef mixed cleaning supplies into small bombs. Office workers fashioned metal scraps into spikes. Teenagers studied maps of tunnels and hiding places. Jin organized them into small teams, each with a simple job to do. No one questioned the plan, though it came from a man none of them had ever met. They had seen his ship fight. That was enough. Remember, Sue told them as they prepared to leave the bunker, this is a diversion only. Draw their attention, then get back to safety. Commander Han will handle the rest. The colony's main city was in ruins. Buildings that once stood tall were now piles of broken concrete. The air smelled of smoke and something strange, the oily scent of void technology. Sue led her team through hidden paths between fallen structures. Ahead they could see void ground forces, strange creatures that were half machine, half living tissue. They moved in perfect unison, searching through the ruins for survivors. Jin checked his watch. 2 minutes to signal. Sue nodded and made a hand gesture to the teams hiding in other locations. They were all in position. She took a deep breath. Now. At once, small explosions erupted across the ruins. Alarms that Jin's team had rigged began to sound in different areas. The Void forces stopped their search and turned toward the noise, just as Han had predicted they would. Phase 2, Sue ordered into her radio. Teams of colonists began moving in the patterns Han had designed, always staying just visible enough to be spotted, but never in the open long enough to be caught. The Void forces separated, breaking their tight formations to chase the humans. From her hiding spot, Sue could see the confusion spreading through the alien ranks. They were used to humans running away or surrendering. This organized resistance was something new. They're splitting up, Jin said with satisfaction. It's working. High above, the Nemesis began its descent through the atmosphere. The ship's weapons targeted the largest concentrations of Void forces with precise strikes. Phase 3, Sue called. Fall back to rally points. The teams retreated toward the locations Han had specified, areas where the Nemesis could provide cover fire. As they moved, Sue noticed something strange. The colonists were changing. People who days ago had been accountants, teachers, and farmers now moved with purpose through the battlefield. They weren't soldiers, but they had found something inside themselves, a strength they didn't know they had. As she watched Jin direct a group of office workers to set up an ambush, Sue realized the uncomfortable truth. Humanity's peaceful evolution had cost them their edge. For 200 years, they had built a society that valued cooperation over competition, words over weapons. It was beautiful, but it had left them vulnerable. Now she was seeing the other side of humanity, the part they had tried to forget. It was there in the way Han's ship moved among the stars, in the clever traps her people now set for the enemy. It was violent and fierce and frightening, and right now, it was exactly what they needed to survive. "Director," Jin called from nearby, "the commander is requesting to speak with you." Sue activated her communicator. "This is Sue." "Your people have done well," Han's voice came through clearly. "The enemy is confused and separated. I'm landing near your position. Meet me there with your best fighters." "We don't have fighters, Commander. We have teachers and farmers. Today they're warriors, and they're doing better than most soldiers I've commanded." The news traveled fast, across human space. Videos showed something many people thought impossible. The colony of Novus Harmony had fought back against the Void Collective and won. At the center of every video was a man in a black uniform, moving faster than seemed possible. Commander Han Ji-won, a name from history books, was somehow alive and fighting. In the Great White Meeting Hall on Earth, the Confederation Council watched these videos in silence. Their faces showed shock and worry. The Wrath Protocol was discontinued. "For good reason," said Councillor Lee, an older woman with silver hair. "Those soldiers were too dangerous, too unpredictable. We chose peace for our future." "The Void Collective didn't choose peace," argued Councillor Kim, slamming his hand on the table. "They chose our extinction. 3 colonies gone already." "But to bring back these methods," Lee began. She stopped as a young aide rushed into the room. The aide whispered to the head councillor, whose face turned pale. "Long-range sensors have detected something," he announced. "The main Void Armada, at least 50 ships, heading directly for our core worlds." The room erupted in frightened voices. The Confederation fleet had only 20 ships, all built for peace missions and scientific exploration. They carried minimal weapons, designed never to kill, only to disable. Against the Void, they would not last an hour. "How long do we have?" someone asked. 2 weeks, maybe less." Silence fell again. Then Councillor Kim spoke. "We need to call him. The commander." 3 days later, Commander Han stood in that same white room. He looked out of place, his black uniform stark against the clean walls, his scarred face hard among the soft, peaceful faces of the council. "You must help us," the head councillor said. "You are our only hope against the Void." Han looked at each council member slowly. "I won't fight your war alone," he told them. "The Nemesis is 1 ship. The Void has 50. Humanity must remember how to defend itself without losing what makes it worthy of defense." "What do you mean?" asked Councillor Lee. "Your peaceful ways are good," Han said, "but peace must be protected. You've forgotten how. I can teach you." The next 2 weeks changed human civilization. Commander Han became more than a weapon. He became a teacher. He worked day and night, training crews for the Confederation ships, showing them how to fight without losing themselves to violence. "Defense is not about hatred," he told a room of scared pilots. "It's about love. Love for what you protect." Engineers worked with plans from the Nemesis, adding new shields and weapons to ships that had never seen battle. Regular people learned basic defense tactics. Han didn't try to turn them into soldiers. He showed them how to use their everyday skills to protect their homes. Su Min arrived from Novus Harmony to help. She taught other colony leaders how ordinary people had fought back. "We didn't become monsters to fight monsters," she explained. "We found strength we didn't know we had." Some council members still feared this change. "What if we become like we were before?" they asked. "Violent, dangerous to ourselves." "Fighting to survive doesn't make you violent," Han answered. "Enjoying the fight does. Know the difference." When the Void Armada arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system, they found something they didn't expect. The peaceful humans had changed. Their ships moved in unpredictable patterns. Their weapons targeted the exact weak points of Void vessels, and they fought with a unity the Void had never seen before. The Nemesis led the defense, with Han's voice guiding the fleet. "Move as one, but think as individuals," he ordered. "That's what they can't do." The battle lasted 3 days. Human ships took heavy damage, but they did not break. Void vessels began to retreat, confused by an enemy that seemed to know all their tactics. "They're running," someone said in wonder as the last Void ships jumped away from Earth. Word came in from across human space. The Void had been pushed back everywhere. The colonies were safe. Humanity had survived. 1 week later, Commander Han stood on the observation deck of the Nemesis. The ship hung in orbit around Earth, its battle damage still visible on its hull. Han looked out at the stars, thinking about all that had happened. He heard footsteps and turned to see Su Min walking toward him. She looked different now, still the leader of Nova's Harmony, but stronger, more confident. "The Council asked me to speak with you," she said. "They want to know your plans. Will you return to cryosleep now that the danger has passed?" Han was quiet for a moment, watching the blue Earth below them. Finally, he shook his head. "No. The universe is more dangerous than humanity realized. I think I'll stay awake for a while." Sue smiled. "Good. We still have much to learn from you. Not just about fighting, but about balance. Strength without cruelty. Protection without fear. And I have much to learn from all of you," Han replied. "About building peace that lasts." He turned back to the stars. "Peace is worth fighting for, that's something I always knew." Together they watched the ships of the new Confederation fleet practicing the movements Han had taught them. Not warships, but defender ships. Not weapons, but shields. The last war god of humanity's past had helped forge something new, a future where peace came not from weakness but from strength. The end.